the old school. I'm drawing a blank on it. Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
You were
it was crazy.
You were the original Chick-fil-A.
It was crazy, but
Is it just that did not exist?
It did
whatsoever?
not exist. Yeah. So people were coming from all over, and I knew that it was great, but I knew like this isn't gonna last forever.
Yeah, you're in that hype phase.
So
and
as soon
you're
as somebody
enjoying it.
sees it, they're gonna start opening, which started happening. So I signed a lease in 1990. I opened a second store at Clinton Township, and then I ended up opening 6 stores in 5 years.
So tell me a little bit. I'm curious, during that phase where I'm sure it was hyper stressful for you, how did you, because this is an old story in time where pressure like that can shoot you one of two ways, right? Yeah. Pressure can.
So I thrived on pressure.
And tell us about your mindset as to how you think you're able to do that.
I got to do as much as I can, as quick as I can before this thing wears out. And so we're working around the clock. Me and my wife are working. My wife quit her job. She's working in the office. She's doing all the billing. And she would help out on the register and whatever. We're 7 days a week. And she always goes, on Sunday, we'd drive in together. And she would always laugh. She would always say, I went to church, she went to church, he worked. I go, I can't go to church, So she would go to church, and then she went to a place over there called Nino Salvaggio's, which is a East Side produce place. So that was the only time she took like her couple hours a week. At any rate, so
that was her only time off.
Yeah, that was it.
That was her vacation.
That was enough. So, so I said, we're going to open these stores. So we started opening. My mom had a jewelry business that she had finally closed down. So she would come in a couple days a week, and she would help out on the register, and she would do deposits and things like that.
So how many employees did you have in the original model?
25 maybe.
You had 25 for the original model?
Yeah. Okay. And then, we opened up store 2, which was in Clinton Township. That was 1990. 1991.
You said one a year for 5 years, right?
Yeah. So I opened up Clinton Township, and we did Warren, Chesterfield, Port Huron, and a second store, which was I had to do to protect myself in St. Clair Shores. So I opened up at 9 and Mac, which these guys thought I was crazy opening at 9 and Mac, because I was 3.5 miles away from the first store.
Yeah.
But at that point, now we're starting to see and hear rumblings of PetSmart and Petco coming to the area. So we're still opening up stores. So I open up the store at 9 and Mac, and it does more business than the first store. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. So that was 1992. My wife was in the hospital. I'll never forget this while I'm setting the store up with our first son, Anthony. She had something called placenta previa. So she had to be on bed rest. So she was in the hospital for the last month. So she's in the hospital, and I'm running, setting up the store, going back to Burlock, Beaumont to 9 and Mac, Burlock, 9 and Mac, back and forth. And this went on. She was in there for about 30 days, twice. I think she was in there twice for maybe another week. And so we opened that store. It's amazing. Does great. She has the baby in January. So she stays home at that point, which is great. And we had the 6 stores. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is truly wild.
But to fund all that, I had to sell. We sold all the rental houses.
Okay.
Yeah, so that helped me fund.
Got it.
All these stores. So we opened the first store 120. The last store was like 400 and something. So
the cost to open it.
And that 5 years or whatever, that's how much it went up, because we went from all used equipment to all new equipment.
Yeah.
To different things, and it was very sophisticated, or got more sophisticated with like the interior design. Everything just got more expensive.
Yeah, because it was turning into your more premium.
Right. So I had I was cash poor. Okay, because what was happening is we were making all this money, but our goal, my father and I, our goal was only take $100,000 from the bank on every store.
Yeah.
And we'd pay it back in 5 years, because we knew that we could do that, and we knew probably the performer of the stores.
So you were dumping it.
All of our profits
was going into the next one, into the next one.
Like I was getting killed. I had no cash because we were paying taxes on everything we were making, and we were making some pretty good money back then, and then putting all the other cash into these other stores. So every year, we're putting in like a couple $100,000 into the store, plus we have to pay our taxes.
Yeah.
So, but we had, we got by, and it's. If you talk to a lot of people, that's what they did. A lot.
That's how you scale.
Yeah,
and I think that's an important thing to note.
How you
is
scale,
that you're looking at the long-term future of this instead of, I made my quick lick.
Right.
Now
I'm looking at, so when we got through the 6 stores, and then everything starts to pay off, one's paying off every year, right? So I kind of got complacent, and I said, well, I'm making like more money than like I knew what to do with. I had Mercedes. I had a brand new house. I didn't go crazy. I had vacations, and as soon as I started having excess cash flow, I started investing. So
tell me, I do want to hear a little bit about how you guys knew nothing, I have to imagine, about real estate and
nothing about.
And so how did you figure that out in terms of?
Oh, I didn't start. So what happened is when I was making money, I had my neighbor was a financial advisor.
Okay.
So I had to buy insurance. So I always bought my health for them. So my father started always telling me, you got to buy life. You got to buy life. I screwed up. I didn't buy life. So I started buying life when I was 18. Not that I wanted to, but I do it. So I start buying all this life insurance when I was 18. Start buying more life. Not for the death benefit, but for what the life does for you. You can borrow against it. You can do a lot of things against it. Okay. So I had that always in my pocket, and I was paying it. They're so cheap, it didn't matter. And so Cliff Adams was the neighbor. And so when I started getting an extra $50,000, $100,000 every year, I start throwing it into the market. So I did that every year, like a religious, in November we get together or December, and we did that. And every year we did it, and it was great. So we started doing that. And then we didn't open any more stores. So that was so it went from like 1990, I guess, 1992 was the last store we opened. And then my kids, we had a second baby in 94, Joe, and then in 97, Kara. So my kids started getting busy, and my wife was a champ because she would cart them to all these places. They played hockey and whatever, gymnastics and dance, blah, blah, blah. So I was working. Like she would go, would be easier if you just met me there. And she goes, well, easier for you, but I got to cart 3 kids, So she would meet me at wherever, Troy Hockey Rink or the Onyx or somewhere, but so I kind of put the focus on. Not so much like I'm going to say just on my family. I still worked a lot, but I don't need more money. This is great. I'll just ride this out. And
this is during the phase you were saying you got complacent?
So, right. I got a little complacent. So then
you prioritize your family.
Yeah. Well, yes and no, but I always wanted to make more money. So then I was reading the newspaper in the home section of Detroit News. I don't know. So that would have been now 1999 or 2000. And they were doing a conversion of condominiums over at Normandy between Coolidge and Crooks and Royal Oak. So I went over there. I'll go over there and look. So it was $102,000. So I bought one. I said, well, I'll start getting back into real estate. I always wanted to get back into it, but I had no money. So now I got a couple bucks. I can throw it in there. So I bought 2. I showed my dad, and then he goes, well, I'll buy one with you if you want. I go, okay. So I bought one by myself, and I bought one with him. So then we start buying. Like every couple months we start buying. We had this condominium conversion company. It was the Kubas, Michigan Condominium. So I start following them. And so wherever they went, we bought. So we bought about 10 of them, I guess, whatever. So
what type of unit style were they?
Condos. Yeah. And then we bought a duplex, a 4-plex. So I start buying, little stuff here and there.
I'm curious, when in your head did you start to really understand the difference between earned income versus, I don't want to call it passive income, but an investment paying you is substantially different than you.
Well, again, I had money, but I didn't have like a whole bunch of money to do this. I had to do one at a time. Yeah. But I knew that, you pay it off, and then maybe you're getting, at the time you're like $600 a month. Now it's like $1,500 a month for that same unit.
Yeah.
And I knew if it paid it off, like there's minimal expense, blah, 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 and your cash flow maybe getting $700-800 a month and you're not doing, you can't say nothing because there's always something to it, right?
Of course.
But you have a bunch of them and you do okay.
Yeah.
So
when did you have that realization that, hey, this is...
Well, that's what I wanted to do. But I still didn't have like the whole concept of how to do it, what to do. So anyway,
you knew you had this extra money that you wanted to invest.
Right. So my dad worked, then my dad actually got out of the bakery business in 1999. He had a heart attack. And that's when I had awakening. It's like, I got to cut back. So I was still working 6 days a week. Okay. And I'd take off not a Sunday. I would take off some random day during the week, And my daughter still remembers us going to Cruise and Mirror, sitting in the front, when she was before preschool. We'd pick her up or pick her up from preschool or kindergarten and go over there. So that was my day off, and the other kids were in school. So, but then I was thinking, well, what can I do? So we did figure out, okay, well, we can figure out how to buy some more real estate. And my dad had the heart attack in 99, and I go, okay, that's it. I hired a couple DMs, or one DM, Joe Cutshaw, worked for me until I sold the company. And so he took some of the heat off. I went Monday through Friday, and I went normal hours, unless something goofy was going on.
Yeah.
And
when you say normal, you mean like a 9 to 5 type of situation?
No, I mean like 8 to 6 or 7 or whatever. You know, but Monday through Friday, unless it was.
Yeah.
And I was able to get to more of the kids stuff and things like that.
And this is how old were you at the time, and how old were your kids?
So 1999, I would have been 35.
And the kids would have been
1999. Anthony would have been 6, 4, and 2.
Okay, so they're just getting into
they're just
all
doing
the
hockey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my dad, they want to close the business or sell it, whatever. And so they sold it. My dad goes, I said, well, why don't we just partner up? We're 2/3 one now. We'll partner up. So we partner up. My dad stays with me. And at the beginning, he worked a lot. We would trade off days off and all that. And then he ran the office, which that was great because I hated paperwork. I hated it, you know. Yeah. And then we had a staff. We had 3 girls working there, and my dad was in the office. And then we had a warehouse where we did some special buys and things like that. So he managed all that stuff. And I just had to do ops. So that's what I liked, ops. That's what I was good at. That's what I like to do. Paperwork and all that was just like, this is meaningless, waste of time. Can't make money doing paperwork.
Yeah.
So we did
true sales guy.
So we so it worked out great. I get a call in 2007 from Harvey Solway from Pet Supplies Plus. He goes, "Hey, you guys want to sell your stores?" I said, "Harvey, I'm like, what am I going to do? You know, I'm in 2000. So I'm 2008. I'm 44. I'm 43 years old. I got 6 stores. They're churning great. They're making great money. I got a little bit of real estate. I'll do more real estate as time goes on." He goes, "Here's the deal." So I talked to my dad. For my dad, it was a good deal because he's, you know, he could be done, retired, but he says it's up to you. Because I always kept, he goes, "I want you to have controlling interest." So I had the 0.1 controlling interest, 50.1.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You started the business. It's your business. I know we're partners, but it's your call." So I thought about it for a while, and I go, well, I would have enough money. I wouldn't have to do anything the rest of my life. And I said, so after a while talking to the wife.
Well, mostly that's attributed to the real estate, likely, right?
Well, no, because the money coming out of the stores would be like at 4 or 5%, it would spill off plenty of money to live off.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I made a decision to sell the stores. So we signed the contract, and I get to the contract, and I go, "I can't do this." And Harvey goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I got to have something to do because at 44, what am I going to do all day?" I go, "Let me keep."
It's been your whole life.
Yeah, it's my whole life.
Since you were 15.
Yeah. So I go, I'm going to go to nothing. So I sell it. I keep one store. I keep store number 8, which is in Clinton Township. It's the store open, second store open. It's not my best store. And everybody says, "Why don't you keep your best store?" I said, "Well, because the best store got me the most money." And I knew I could build this store. It was doing, back then it was like my number 2 or 3 store. It was doing in high 30s, not much, maybe mid 40s. And so
you're speaking in per week.
Per week, and now we're talking not 2008 numbers. Okay?
You always.
Well, we're talking thousands, man. Because
why do you always talk in weeks? I'm curious.
Weeks, because I equate everything to a week, and then you can convert to. It's pretty simple, 2.3 million or whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying. Is that a big metric that you guys use in the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, any business I have. I mean, I've got the Subways. Okay, I've got the Beyond Juicery and Eateries, the Jets Pizzas, and the Pet Supplies Plus. So I have all of them. I go by week over week, year, and I can remember back pretty much a month, back on every store, what they do every week. And so that's how I always equate everything by week. And then you go by your P&Ls and you go by quarters and years.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we end up selling it. I keep the one store. And Harvey said, we'll do something in the future. And I go, what are we going to do? He doesn't need me for anything. So the plan was that what they wanted to do is they wanted to get more corporate stores. So they were buying stores. Mine was the first acquisition they bought. And it was a good one. It was a very good one for them. But I had built that 9 and Max store that I told you that was doing so great that I had a 12-year lease. Well, the 12 years came up. And
that's what I was going to ask you. Did you own the buildings?
So what happened was the 12-year lease came up and they threw me out and there was nowhere to go. So my dad and I, we got railroaded. We bought a piece of property, kitty corner, across from Royal Bryan. Not a very good spot actually for retail, but we bought it because we had nowhere else to go. It was the old bus station for St. Clair Shores. It was like it was the bus station. Prior to that, it was their headquarters for the schools, I guess you'd say. It burned down, so it was all buried in the ground. It was a mess. So we bought it for $550. This is a lot of money back in 2000.
Yeah.
Whatever, 6, I guess.
And that was for the land?
For the land. So we built the building, we moved the store over there, and it was doing even more business because we had a bigger footprint.
Yeah.
So I kept them. That was my first real piece of real estate that I had. And I kept them as a tenant. They're still there as of today. I have another tenant behind also in there.
So you didn't own that at that point? Is that after you sold it?
I built it. I owned it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you owned it, but did you own the franchise that was there as well? Okay,
yeah. So I sold in the store and I kept the building.
Got it.
And I still have it. So he goes, we'll do something. I go, yeah, right. We'll do something. So he calls me. He goes, hey, I want you to head up doing acquisitions. I go, all right, whatever you want me to do. He goes, you can be 50-50 partner. I go, awesome. Great. Because in the 3-4 months that I was just doing the one store, I started building the store and I was doing better with the store, but I didn't want to be in the store running a pet store again. You know, I mean, it's just, I couldn't do it. I had a manager and she was doing fine. So he goes, yeah, we'll start doing these 50-50, perfect. So I was like depressed prior to him calling me because I go, wow, I gave up it's just like I did with the pizza. I gave up a great business. What am I going to do here? I can't stay home. My wife doesn't want me home. I don't want to be home.
I was going to say, what was the biggest thing, I guess?
So when you go from like 1,000 miles an hour to like 25 miles an hour,
yeah,
and you got 15 employees, 20 employees, or you had 200 employees. Like I had a staff of 4. I went to a staff of part-time 1.
Yeah.
So what do? It's like the whole thing changes. You got this money, you can live, no problem. But
is it purpose?
It's purpose. It's not money. Now it's purpose. Like, what the hell am I going to do at 44 years old? So we start doing these acquisitions. So I became a partner with the company. And that was in 2000, late 8, early 9. And we bought about 5, 6 stores, 7 stores, something like 6 stores, I think it was. And we opened one. Then in 2009, they start talking.
What type of stores did you purchase?
Pet Supplies Plus.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, so it was natural for me.
Oh, I was going to say, that's the most no-brainer thing.
Yeah, so we were buying other guys out like me, and then we'd go in, we'd remodel them, and we'd get more business out of them. But,
How many did there end up being by the time you were selling yours?
So
how many were there?
In 2009, they started working with the Pet Supplies Plus. Harvey started working with a venture capital. Irving Place Capital ended up buying us, and there was 168 stores when we sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I was the smallest cog on the wheel, but I got another bite, by selling in 2008 to them, the franchise, or then I got another bite when we sold to Irving Place Capital.
Got it.
But then what do you do then? Now it's only 2 years later, right? So now he goes, Jeff, I go, what are we going to do? And he stays on, him and my other partner, Dom, they stay on with a 5-year deal. So they're still working and they're still have a small piece of the company. So I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm at a cheerleading competition. My daughter's at a cheerleading.
And you're 45 at this point?
Yeah, so she's doing Redskins, which is a local football thing here, and she's a cheerleader. So I'm out there with another dad, and he's talking about, now you got to remember the economy is just destroyed now, 2010, right? It's terrible. And
that's interesting timing. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Terrible.
You're riding high sitting here.
Right. We're doing great.
Yeah.
And,
you're sitting back and everybody's talking about
everybody else, their houses are, everybody's underwater, blah, blah, blah. So,
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there with this guy that came from California, and I go, why'd you move from California to here? He goes, well, I started buying houses because they're so cheap, in foreclosures. I go, really? I said, tell me how that works. So we talked, and then we met like 2 days later. He goes, I'll show you what I'm doing. Come over to Royal Oak. I'll show you what we're doing. I said, okay. So I go over there, and he shows me a couple houses he's rehabbing. He was doing stuff in Pontiac, and I said, I'm not doing stuff in Pontiac. Okay. I don't buy anything that I won't live in. Okay. So that's even with my rentals today. I don't buy anything that I wouldn't live in. I'm not saying I want to live in it, but I would live in it if I had to, right?
Yeah, you're not, I get what you're saying. Right. You're not doing Section 8 or stuff.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm doing like, normal subdivision, normal places. So, or I wouldn't put my kid in. My kid lived in one of my units. Like, that's the criteria. I would never buy something like,
You take pride in what you have.
Yeah, I keep them nice and I want to keep them good. So he shows me what he's doing. He goes, well, let's go look at this one that's coming up on the market. And I go, okay, cool. So it was on Kenmore Street. I'll never forget it. Holy crap. We walk in this place. It's like a bomb hit it, right? It's a bungalow. I think we paid, well, I should say he was going to pay 55. He goes, you interested? And I go, yeah, I'll do it. So we do it.
For context, how big was this house?
It's a bungalow, like 1,300 square
Okay,
feet.
got it,
Yeah,
yeah.
with the car, 2-car garage in the back. So he goes, I'm going to go look at another one if you want to come. I goes, yeah, but I'm not going to do anymore. So we go look at another one. I go, all right, I'm on board. I'll do it. So fast forward. So now it's 2010. From 2010 to 12, we do like 98 of them. Okay. Yeah. So it's a machine. And what happened was he couldn't fund the amount of stuff that we're doing. So I had the funding. I funded everything. I took back my interest. My bookkeeper was going bananas because we had at one time, I think we had 30 some odd houses going.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And we put it for sale. It's weird. We're in the worst market in the world, but we're selling the houses, and we're making our margin and we're doing good. So I said, well, let's keep some of these.
So these were all flips.
They're all
ultimately
flips.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So I said, let's keep some of these. So he goes, okay, let's keep some of them. So we kept some of them. I still have some today that were rentals.
That's an interesting time to flip.
Yeah.
Back then. What made you guys think that was going to be the way to, just because there were
Well,
so many?
I mean, we tested a couple of them and it worked. So
Yeah.
I figured, well,
Fair enough.
Let's do it. And I figured if I get stuck with these houses, the only way I get screwed big time is if the world ends, right? Because
Yeah.
you got to assume that everything's going to get better and it's not going to get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it can get worse before it gets better, but it's not going to, totally fall apart.
Yep.
So we end up doing all these houses and we're getting towards the end of 2012. And in the meantime, Harvey quits, leaves Pet Supplies Plus because he can't deal with the new people. And Dominic stays there, Dominic Bucelato. So during this time of doing these flips, we open up these North Carolina stores down in these Pet Supplies Plus stores in North Carolina.
Okay.
So we do that. And then I bring Harvey in on the real estate and we start doing some of the real estate with him. So we needed, some more help. And we did some of those. We kept some of these houses at the end and we start building new houses.
Okay.
We did about 8 or 10 new houses. And then it kind of all fizzled out. And Joe, there was nothing left to do. Joe went on his way. He works for Restoration Hardware doing construction now. He's doing great. So God bless him. And Harvey and I are doing the pet stores. So now we got those. We opened 3 down there and we got I still have my one up here. And then we opened 2 more up here together and we bring on Dominic as our partner. So now Dominic's a partner in the stores as well. And some real estate comes around. We buy a little bit here and there. And then Dominic's son, Justin, who I've known forever, got involved with Subway. And he had 1 store. And he was doing a little bit of real estate. I showed him what I was doing. And he started doing some residential. So a long story, fast forward, we end up buying, I don't know, like 10 Subways, I think it was, and 4 coffee shops, Big coffee shops. And then Subway just tanks, goes in the sewer. And so I'm fast forwarding here a little bit.
No, that's okay.
And we close down 2 of the Big B's. We convert one of them into a Beyond Juicer and Eatery. So the first franchisee of that, my son's working for Oxford Bank. Joe comes out of college and in 2019, and he wants to open up. He goes, Dad, I don't want to be a guy working for somebody for the rest of my life. And I go, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, I've been looking at these juice things. I go, ironically, this is what's going to happen. So I tell Justin to call my son Joe and say, if he wants to be the operator, he can come in on the deal. So he wants to be the operator. So now Joe opens up this first Beyond Juicer and Eatery franchise store, and he just opens up and he kills it. Like, it's an amazing store. So he's doing that. Joe's got the first store there. We're doing the Big B Subway, and I got the pet stores, and I open up a Jet's Pizza in New York. And so Harvey and Dominic are in most of these deals with me. And then we get hooked up with this. Justin's doing real estate, so we start buying with him.
You brought up Justin. Who's Justin?
Justin is my partner Dominic's son.
Got it.
Who got into the Subways, who brought us into the Subways and the Big B's.
Got it.
So now he's morphed into, he's doing great with real estate. So I do a lot of real estate with him now too. With we have something under contract right now on the residential side that could be a great deal in Clawson for us. So we're working on that. But we do stuff in Grosse Pointe. And we've got quite a bit together. So relationships, good people. Like I told you back. I was going to say everything. Go back to this. It all goes back to good people, right?
Yeah.
So a little side note. So my son Joe, all 3 of my kids were finance majors. Okay, and my oldest Anthony is a CPA by trade. My second, Joe, is finance, and he worked at Oxford Bank doing commercial loans. And my daughter went to Georgetown. So Anthony went to Michigan State, Anthony went to Michigan, Joe went State, and my daughter went to Georgetown. So she did finance and accounting, and she works for Brookfield, which is a real estate company. So they're all doing great, and they all work hard. But like I said, good people, you wrap yourself with good people. And now the second generation is doing business with the second generation of my partners, like Justin. Yeah. So now Joe opens up the store on Mac, and he's doing great, and that's 19. Then he opens Renson, which I told you that horror story. Mm-hmm. Number one store in the chain, closed in 18 days, sitting there. We paid cash for it, so it's just sitting there. And so now he's got, he opens up in the village of Grosse Pointe. He's doing great there. And now he bought the store in Ferndale. So all his stores are great. He's doing a marvelous job. And but he's working hard doing it, and he's on a different path than my daughter's, more corporate, and my son is financial planning, and he has a CPA accounting firm too that he does as well. Wow. So they're all kind of doing kind of their own thing. My daughter's really the only one that doesn't have her own thing, but she's killing it out there, and she lives in Manhattan. I wish she was here, but I understand what she's doing and what she wants out of life, and it's great. So
no, for sure. And I mean, it's
so I'm
cool
very proud of all of them. I mean,
in different ways.
Yeah, in different ways, and they all have different personalities, and it's kind of weird. But that one has your mother's. This one's like you. It seems like all the bad stuff comes from me, but
No, that's.
but at any rate, so they're all great, and I do think that they've seen over the years all the unconventional things that we've done, with businesses, and conventional things we've done, and I think they kind of all have a little bit of itch, for having, because they all have real estate. All three of them have real estate they own together and separately. And so they're all always, dabbling in that.
I mean, I'll tell you what, you've definitely set a great example for all of them. And it's cool that you've not only inspired them to do it, but you've also given permission to, hey, be who you want to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, I told my son, I said, Joe, if you want to get in, do you realize what this is going to be? He goes, I get it. And he's had his ups and downs, more ups and downs, thank God. And, so he's moving forward, so he's just got.
But it's cool to know that he saw and knew that you were able to say, I've been through all these ups and downs. You've experienced similar things with your stores.
It's really cool because we have a group that owns the stores with him, and it's Harvey Solway, it's Justin, and there's one other partner in there, Nick, who's a great guy, and myself. So I told Joe, I'm out, I'm done at the end of the year. I can't do anything more for him. We got him going, and I want him to be successful. He can do it on his own. He doesn't need our help anymore. So he's got another deal that he's doing outside on his own, and he's buying the real estate, and he's opening another store on the east side, and he's taking it right from the ground up, and he's doing the whole thing. So he understands what to do and how to do it. And I do think the training that he did get, probably more so at Oxford Bank than I would say maybe through Michigan State, was very, very beneficial for what he does today,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was incredible. I mean, you dove into a lot of info.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
Your story was incredible. So, I mean, I'm very grateful to have been able to sit down with someone that has done franchisee work as well, because that's something that not a lot of people that I've sat down with have experience in.
Again, I mean, if you put yourself around good people, right, and you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So when you get involved with a franchise, you have to follow the franchise program.
No, that's what I was going to get at.
For the good, bad, and the good and the bad. Because if you make a commitment to work with these people and you have trust in these people, then you better run the program. And prospective franchisees call me all the time for Pet Supplies Plus, and I always tell them, I said, listen, if you get involved, don't reinvent the wheel, because these people are smarter than you are. Okay, they're smarter than I am because it's their program. Follow the program, and
the system works.
Yeah, the system will work. To what degree it'll work, I don't know. A lot of it's luck. You get a good location, or if you don't do a good job, it's never going to work. So.
Well, you did the things that were absolutely necessary. You put the time in. You made sure that there was no margin for error. At the end of the day, unless it was the worst location on earth,
right, it was going to work. It might not be the best store in the world, but it was going to make it.
100%. 100%. Well, you gave us a lot of great feedback today, and we appreciate you sitting down.
It was kind of fun to go back and think about it, because I think we lose track of like in the day, like where we are today is like, you don't think about
So
wow,
far from
there was a
where it
lot
was.
of struggles and, you know, and there's a lot of good things that came out of the struggles. So.
100%. And so I like to wrap up with just a couple of short questions, just short takeaways for everybody watching at home.
Sure.
So I like to take this question in two different directions. So the first one is in your perspective industry. And so I want to say, for you in particular, being a franchisee. So if someone was 17, 18, 19, said, I want to start a franchise and I want to go down this path. I want to replicate it. I want to build an empire in a way that you have, and they want to start doing that. What would be the 3 pieces of advice that would be most impactful to that person starting out?
If they don't want to go follow the path of a franchisor and they want to build their own brand. Okay. So I would say, figure out what brand you think is the brand that you want to emulate and you want to be the closest to, and maybe go work there, or at least follow them and go study them. If you have a whole new program on your own, then you can still take what franchise do because it's structure, right? So if you can't, you can open up whatever you want, but you have to have structure. And every business.
So you're saying replicating another person's structure. It could be a completely different industry.
It doesn't matter. So if it's a food, right? If you want to do a food concept, go follow who you think are the best food people. Okay, if it's fast food or if it's a fast casual, go to Chipotle. Okay, go to Chick-fil-A. Look at McDonald's. I mean, they're the A's, right?
Yeah.
Right. Don't go look at some mom and pop. Go to the A's, and then take what you think is best from each of them and plug it into your program.
Yeah. No,
and I would also say that don't try to push it and don't try to, build a brand. Don't build too fast. And when you have the concept, then make sure it's all set in stone before you want to go into the franchise program.
Okay. Yeah.
As a franchisor.
Yeah, I hear you. And then the second question is, regardless of industry, someone's just trying to figure it out.
Yep.
They're starting off. They have no clue if they want to be in corporate, if they want to do finance, if they want to own their own business, if they want to do a franchise, if they want to get in real estate. They have no clue. They're starting to figure things out. What would be 3 pieces of advice for them to get started? What are the core things that you would recommend that'll help them figure that out?
Well, I think if you want to be ultimately in your own business, right? Sometimes it just falls in your lap. So let's say the person has a degree in finance. You can go work anywhere. I don't care if it's a nonprofit, to a bank, to a franchisee or franchisor. So, I've stumbled in, like most of my stuff that I have done, I've stumbled into. Like I didn't go out to, except for Pet Supplies Plus, I didn't go out and say, I'm going to flip houses or I'm going to have Subways or I didn't do any of that. So, I would say the first thing, like my son, Joe, he went and worked at the bank. Mm-hmm. He loved what he did, but he knew that he didn't want to be a 30-year guy at the bank. Okay. So maybe if you're a fitness guy, maybe you got to go work at a gym, right? Or if you're
so you're saying create that core.
But, I mean, you must have, if you want to get in your own business, you must have some type of thirst for something. I don't know what it is. If it's a bike shop, right?
Yeah.
Go work at a bike shop, right? So, I mean, it's like you can steal. Maybe you can steal or you can learn. Maybe that's a better word.
Replicate.
Yeah. From anybody, right? And you might think that he's doing a terrible job, but the guy's been in business for 30 years, so maybe you did a better job and you could make the bottom line stronger, right? So, I would say, I would try to go to something that you have a little bit of interest in and work in that field, whatever it is.
Yeah, so that you can learn what's working.
Right, but I mean, if you're a finance guy and you want to go open up a coffee shop, well, go work at a coffee shop. You don't only got to work there 30 days. You don't have to put a career in there.
Yeah.
You might not like it. And then you got to work from 6 a.m. until 8 at night or 9 at night. You don't like those hours.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense. All right. Again, I want to thank you for making the time to be here.
It was very, it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And guys, I want to thank you all for making the time to be here today, believing in the possibility that life can be better and challenging yourself to grow. I believe everybody's pursuing what they feel to be their dream life. And hopefully today you got one step closer. We'll see you next time, and never stop pursuing precision. All right, guys, that is going to conclude episode 17 with Jeff Bonnani. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did having the opportunity to sit next to this man. It was an incredible interview. I'm now going to recap the top 3 lessons that I learned from Jeff. 1, start early. In his career, he was in a position where he got injured early. And at 15 years old, he was unable to play sports and do a lot of the things that normal kids did. And what that forced him to do was think about work, think about his future much earlier than others. And in his situation, he learned a lot of valuable lessons, a lot of business lessons, a lot of different things that most people wouldn't have learned at such an early age, which allowed him to make those failures earlier and learn faster, which I think is what kicked him ahead in his career as he moved on. 2, invest in your future before deciding to take more income or worrying about having more income. Now, he was obviously an entrepreneur, so in his situation, he was working on the future of his business and growing it, and continue to take the money he was making from that business and invest it into the next growth that they were seeing for the business. But what's most important is the fact that he was thinking about investing in his future before he thought about increasing his income. And so this could apply to someone who just is a normal 9-to-5 worker that may make a certain level of income. And instead of taking all that as income and increasing their lifestyle, you can choose to invest in your future. So I think it's a super valuable lesson to learn here. 3, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So Jeff claimed in this interview many times that he was not the smartest guy in the room by any means, but what he continued to do is trust people around him, put himself around others that were successful, were smart, and use that to build his network, use that to build his business portfolio. Almost everything that he's invested in at this point in time is with a partner. And he continually said over and over again, many of these people are mentors to him. And so he had no problem being the small guy in the room at the time, because at the end of the day, he learned tons from them, and it allowed him to generate a massively successful portfolio across all different avenues. All right, guys, that is going to conclude episode 17 with Jeff Bonnani. Again, this was such a valuable episode in my opinion, because we hadn't heard from anybody that has gone the franchisee route. He did an amazing job growing that franchise, and then again spun that into a career in commercial real estate. So I hope you guys took as much from this as I did, and we cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Never stop pursuing precision.